episode 157.
Are you ready to take your eBay business to the next level? Then hold on, because Ron and Ali are going to take you into the fast lane with the latest tips and insights from some of the biggest and most successful sellers here on the So You Want to Sell on eBay podcast.
Welcome once again to another episode of So You Want to Sell on eBay. I'm Ron LeBeau.
And I'm Ali Young.
Hey, everyone. We have with us today Robert Courtemanche. Robert, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, and how about you guys?
I'm doing fantastic. Ali, how you doing, sir?
Thank you for asking, Ron. Doing marvelous. Great to have you with us, Robert.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. So Robert started his resale journey at the age of 8 years old that quickly moved into sports cards, which gave him the knowledge to get where he is at today. Now he is a jack of all trades, an expert in making money out of nothing. Wow, we've got a lot to talk about here, Ali.
8 years old. So, all right, let's go. Let's start there, shall we? 8 years old. What did your parents do? Your grandparents?
Well, my parents were like avid yard salers back then. I grew up doing the whole yard sale thing. What originally started the whole reselling journey was when I was in school, there was a bunch of kids that were in little clubs selling blow pops, and they were selling them for $0.25 a piece. And I was like, well, I'm not in these clubs, but I want to get at some of that action. So I asked my mom. My mom at the time was a manager at a bowling alley, so she had a membership at a Smart and Final. That's in California. I don't know if it's anywhere else. We went together. We bought a whole bunch of blow pops. It was like a box of, I don't remember how many there were in there, but it was only like $3. And when it was all said and done, I was able to pay her back and still had some money to buy another box. And I just kept turning that. And then Garbage Pail Kids came along.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where I started doing the whole hustling. There was kids that, had cards and I wanted to get them too. And the motivation for me with the blow pops was originally to play a Star Wars game. It was an arcade game at this liquor store that I always wanted to play. But when I started seeing these kids with the Garbage Pail Kids, I really wanted them, but I didn't know where to get them. And then one day when I was changing $1 into quarters, I noticed they were on the counter at the liquor store. So I bought my first pack like an idiot. I was unpeeling the stickers because I didn't know any better. And then eventually I found out what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do. Then I started going to school and started trading with kids, and I realized that each character had like a twin character. Little by little, that grew up, and then that pushed me into sports cards, and then I just got really good at that, knowledgeable with that. The first big collection I got was from my brother-in-law. He basically said he saw that I was into sports cards, and he had this big old photo album full of all these cards from like 1968 through 1973 of all sports. And he said, all I want is just one of each. So if there's 5, you can have 4 of them. If there's 1, you can't have it. And all you have to do is wash my car.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
So I got that, and I started doing that. And I was pulling stuff like Reggie Jackson's rookie, Lou Alcindor's second year, Nolan Ryan's rookie. I mean, I just had tons of cards. Well, when I was growing up, the 2 guys were King Griffey Jr. and Bo Jackson. Those are the hot guys. So what I would do with these cards is I would trade, because back then it was like trade price for price, not so much today where it's like there's like a science behind it how you got to trade because of what they're doing this year. Yeah. Back then it was just like player for player or price for price. And so I would trade these cards from 1970 common cards, $5 for like a King Griffey Jr. rookie card.
Oh my gosh.
And so eventually I started getting smarter with it because I was attending card shows, and I would start buying what they call promo cards. And promo cards are basically like, since Bo Jackson was so hot, they had just different variations of this card. They weren't in any particular set, but nobody in my neighborhood had them. So I would buy these things for like 50 cents to $1 each, and then put my own price on it of like 10 to 20 bucks each.
Nice.
Wow. And then I started trading the kids in my neighborhood with these cards, taking all their good cards because they thought that the card I had was so unique and no one else had it. And they didn't know I had 10 more at home.
Yeah. Scarcity, right?
Yeah.
My last one.
Yeah.
So last week too,
Yeah, so eventually I started like wiping out everybody's collections. And
listen to you, you're wiping them all out.
well, this is only like ninth grade at this point. Yep. At this point, I'm like in 9th, 10th grade. And so what had happened, people, they started saying, hey, I'll give you my bike. I'll trade you my bike for this. And I'll trade you my shoes or this and that. And so
good, man.
So as a high school kid, someone's want to trade you Jordans for a Jordan sports car that you have 5 of course you're going to do it.
Yeah,
So I started like wearing clothes that I was trading, and then bikes, I would ride them around. I had like so many bikes in the backyard. And my dad was like, you need to get rid of this crap. It's like just taking up the whole backyard. So since my mom and dad did yard sales, they also like dumpster dive. My dad didn't. My dad worked full time, but my mom and my aunt did. So they would have yard sales with the dumpster dump finds, and I would put all my bikes and stuff in the yard sales.
Yep.
My goodness, man.
So then I started selling the bikes and everything I traded for. I kept some of the good stuff, but then just little by little, I just evolved into like, okay, what else can I get into? And that just moved into like testing the waters pretty much on everything. And, when I first got on eBay in 2000, I had an account for about 2 years, and it closed down because back then it was like a feedback fight.
Yeah.
Like usually feedbacks back and forth. So I had like more negative feedbacks than I wished to have just because of the fighting. Yeah. And so I wound up closing that, started being a little bit more responsible. But, at this time I was a full-time worker. So I was just doing everything part-time, but I was still doing the same hustles. And, just the knowledge would grow, and, I'd make mistakes along the way. We didn't have smartphones. We didn't have none of that. And, now it's to a point where I see all these people that are struggling with learning the whole eBay thing. And I think they overthink it. I think there's a lot of people out there that have content on how to sell on eBay, and they're listening to everybody, and it's making them a little confused on how to do stuff. And it's really not that hard. It's not that difficult. And on that thing where it says a master of making money out of nothing, it's basically what I do. There's some things that people say this is no good, and they throw it away. Me, I'm thinking, what's worth money on that?
Okay.
And you could do that with clothing. There's so many things that people just disregard and just consider it junk.
So someone else might see a broken vacuum cleaner, and you see a Hoover roller pin, you see a Hoover canister, you see it as parts that somebody's going to want. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly, because what a lot of people don't realize in eBay is the 2 biggest sellers on eBay, or anywhere for that matter, maybe not anywhere, but eBay for sure, are items of nostalgia and items of necessity. Items of necessity is king over everything. Everyone needs clothes, but no one needs Tommy Bahama. Nobody needs Versace. You can go to Walmart and get a shirt. You know what I mean? But
right.
if you have a motor that needs this part, well, you need it. There's people that sell auto parts, and something that I was heavy into, which I'm drifting back into, is diesel parts. And a car, for some people, it might be an item of necessity, but if there's a bus line where you live, is it really necessity? On the flip side of a truck, that's their livelihood. They make money with their truck. So diesel parts are more of a need than a want, as opposed to a car part is kind of like iffy.
Yeah.
Wow, that's very interesting.
You sound ferocious. This is amazing that it starts at such a young age and it leads up to this point. eBay must be like paradise to you.
It is, because it's the only platform out there. There's issues. It does seem like right now that sellers can't get a break. I'm sure you've heard that. It seems like no matter what happens, like we're getting stuck with you get a guy with 1 feedback, and you have 20,000 feedback, and they go with them instead of you. Like your reputation means nothing. But that's just like a small price to pay for what eBay allows you. They're the only one that you can virtually almost sell anything, as long as it's not going to be a hazard to your customer. As far as like, if you sell medical products, you need to have the proper paperwork to sell medical products, and that makes sense. But But I mean, there's just so much. You can sell pine cones on there. You can sell toilet paper rolls. You can sell jars.
Yeah.
I've seen jars of air labeled Hurricane Katrina air. I mean, it's just insane.
Are you serious, man? That is hilarious.
Hand to God. Hurricane Katrina air.
And as soon as you let it out, it's no longer Hurricane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
I think that's the makings of a bad joke. You know what I mean? Put something else in there.
Yeah, no kidding, man. That's funny.
It's time for a quick break, but the guys will be right back here on the So You Want to Sell on eBay podcast.
Join us for eCom Chicago, our 5th annual 3-day conference on October 18th through the 20th, specializing in e-commerce and business growth. Listen and learn from accomplished speakers in the e-commerce world, including eBay, Etsy, Merch by Amazon, Walmart, Jet, as well as many others. This will be an opportunity you don't want to miss. Network, share tips and tricks, challenges, and successes, and learn from expert speakers and sponsors, as well as the numerous attendees from across the U.S. Be sure to check out the special pre-show vendor day on October 18th live, where vendors will be focused on demos on products and services. Find all the info at ecomchicago.com. Use coupon code PODCAST to receive $20 off your registration. Visit ecomchicago.com. Sponsorship opportunities available. A repetitive question among eBay sellers is, how can I sell more? Another one is, what solutions should I use to grow my business? Today, we have an answer to both. 3D Sellers. It is a first-of-a-kind platform that combines all vital solutions for eBay sellers under one dashboard. 3D Sellers has powerful tools for you to increase sales. 3D Sellers will boost your feedback score with a smart feedback reminder. 3D Sellers will give your listings a professional look and bring repeat business with professional cross-selling emails, and it is easy to use. There are other tools too. 3D Seller combines all the tools you need. Just visit 3dsellers.com and start a free plan now. It is already trusted by over 200,000 eBay sellers. And now only So You Want to Sell on eBay listeners get a 20% discount for a pro plan. Just use the code PODCAST. Visit 3dsellers.com now and get ready to sell more.
Check us out online or on social media. Facebook.com/So You Want to Sell on eBay and Twitter at Your eBay Podcast.
So you must be a thrifter then, are you? Is that what you are? Because I'm looking at your store and you just seem to have lots of different types of stuff, from hair, wig stuff to clothes to gels.
Yeah, for the most part, I don't single out any particular place. I don't just thrift. I don't just go to auctions. With what I've learned in my entire time of doing this is that there's money everywhere. So, it's one of those things where, you just stay at thrift stores, then you're just going to find thrift store stuff. You go to auctions, you're only going to find what's at auctions. And, there's going to be some of each in each of those respective places, but I ain't afraid to try anything. It's part of learning. And with the cell phone nowadays, you can look stuff up. I feel 100% confident I can go anywhere without my phone and pull some stuff. And if I don't, then, that's just part of the game. I've been there before. Yeah. But there's just so much stuff out there. As far as what I'm selling now, mostly of what you're seeing is us clearing out, because when we started this, I gave you 2 stores, and one has a little bit more feedback than the other. And the smaller one, I'm growing that store. So the best way to grow a store is to put anything and everything into it. That way you're attracting a lot more eyes instead of someone that's just looking for clothing or just looking for parts or whatever. So if you have clothes, hats, comics, cards, parts, whatever, all these different people are coming in to check out your store, and they're potential buyers. Yeah. So the whole goal was to grow that with as many people coming to my store, hopefully getting some followers, but they really don't mean a whole lot unless you're selling the same stuff. And then go into what I planned on selling in that store and just load it up. So now I have credibility, I have feedback, and that's how you grow a store.
So let's talk about stores for a minute, because we've got a lot of listeners out there that are just thinking about maybe starting an eBay business, and they're not sure exactly what a store does for you, what the advantages of a store. And I think there's 3 different levels of stores. So tell us the advantages, first of all, of having a store as opposed to just putting stuff on eBay to sell.
Well, first, having a store, I mean, you'll get better results as far as views, number one. Number two, you can put a name to your business instead of being a person. Because when you have like a store, it looks like you're more serious, as opposed to someone that doesn't. It looks like you're just trying to make some extra cash, and you may not be as careful with their product as someone with the store might be. Obviously, with stores, everyone knows that you can do sales with stores and stuff like that. As far as the tiers go, I've always stuck with well, now they changed it, because I think there's like little tiny stores now you can get, but there was always like 3 stores. There was the basic, the median, and then the anchor store. Yeah. I've always taken the medium one, because I really don't see the point in having an anchor store or anything above that unless you're just doing huge amounts of volume. Because when you have like an anchor store or anything above that, it means you have more product, which means at this point you have a museum. You don't have a store. Yeah. I don't want people to come look at my stuff. I want them to buy it. So the goal is for me not to have all the stuff for them to get. The goal is to get good stuff for them to buy, and then you don't need that anchor store. The perk with the anchor store, obviously, they say you can get customer service like with the snap of a finger, but I've honestly, with all the complaints on eBay out there, I have never had trouble getting through customer service. Ever.
Yeah, that's good. I will say that we've heard some positive things about eBay and the efforts they've made towards sellers and things. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of work in progress here as well. So, if you're out there and you're a seller, I would say be patient. But I mean, what are your thoughts as far as 5 years ago as opposed to now, as far as treating the sellers?
I honestly think they're treating the sellers worse, honestly. Now, okay. I don't want to scare anybody away, and I don't say in the sense of being able to sell. I don't want to say worse. I just want to say they're more Amazon-y, if that makes sense. Like they're a little bit more critical. I understand the only limited amounts of listings to begin with to see if you're serious. That kind of makes sense to me. The only real argument I have with eBay nowadays is the fact that the whole going for the buyer over the seller's word, regardless of your credibility. I mean, you look at my feedback. I have feedback in both of my stores that talk about how good I pack stuff and how fast my shipping was. And then you get somebody that complains, "Oh, it broke and the packaging was horrible," and they side with the guy. And I'm like, really? Yeah. Like it's that kind of stuff. But overall, eBay, I feel, is moving in the right direction as far as growth. I think people overanalyze the whole eBay algorithm thing. I had a video out because I used to do YouTube videos before, and I took them all down because one of my store names was 19th Vintage, and that's kind of what I went by. And I'm like, that's not really like a YouTube persona type name. Yeah. So I went and changed that, but I took all the videos down. And one of the things I said was, let's say if everybody in the world on eBay did exactly what eBay told you to do, title it this way, free shipping, free returns, yada, 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 where would you sit? You need to build your store and list your item that way. Yep. Like make sure that you're going to be in the top with everyone doing it 100%. And having good products that people want, that's the name of the game. And there's so many things out there that people are saying, you need to buy this, you need to buy that, you need to buy that. Here's the thing is, in my life, especially as a guy that recycles and a guy that you see, obviously what I do in my store, is that everything out there has a value. Just depends on where you price it and where you sell it. You can, like I said, you can sell nature products, just pine cones and bottle caps and rocks and whatever, and sell them as crafting. And, just everything has a value. Like one of the things that I found the coolest, and I just learned this probably about 6-7 years ago, was clothing. A lot of people, it has a stain. Oh, it's a bad buy. Well, there's two things on that. A, why is it a bad buy? two people bought it, the person who donated and you. So obviously there's some kind of interest to make that person and you buy it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say you can't sell it, it has a stain or whatever. Most people will say, oh, let's donate it. It's like, well, why donate it? Because now someone else is going to pick it up and potentially fall in the same problem you have. Yep. You can cut these things up and turn them into rags and sell them locally as rags. And the only reason why I know that is because when I was running a diesel shop, I had ordered some rags from a trucking company, and they came cut up clothes.
Oh, really? Oh my God, that's amazing.
So just knowing that's a market out there. The clothes were like there's 25-pound boxes and 50-pound boxes, and I know the price was like a few dollars more than the poundage. So it was like, if it was like 25 pounds, it was like $33, and then the white ones were like $5 more than that. Yeah. So it was just crazy. I was like, wow, like I never would have thought of that. So I started seeing on Instagram all these people with all these jacked up clothes and all these problems. I'm like, wow, just cut them up and sell them as rags. At least you're not losing the donation money. I mean,
you got so much knowledge here.
I mean, I could go all day.
Yeah, no, yeah. Do you know what? It's awesome because it's a podcast show. It helps when people talk. But okay, so let's get more into about your sort of day to day. So you sell on eBay. You mentioned you're doing YouTube videos. Let's just say like an average day in the life of you. You go out, you buy your eBay products. I mean, how do you go from buying it to listing it to selling it to shipping it?
Well, when it comes to sourcing it, I don't have any particular days to go out because for what I do, I can buy one product and get like 20 products out of that one product or more. And that's anything, So I don't have specific days. It's normally like, hey, we're close by, let's go check it out type thing. When auctions pop up, I'll hit those up. Online auctions, I look at those. They're local, but they're online. Then they have just different places around here that you can go that have certain, like, they call them picker sales and stuff like that we go to that are on certain days. But for the most part, when I wake up, I check orders and I get everything prepped for shipping. I don't start the shipping till after the kids get to school. And then I pack everything up and then I see if I have any photos left. For the most part, what I try to do is I have a good workflow. I have a place where I take my photos directly behind me. If it's clothing or parts or whatever, I can measure it. And then do whatever. And then right next to that is the scale where I can weigh it. And then right next to that is the computer where I list it. So it's like everything's listed in one shot. It's not, I took 30,000 photos today and I'm going to list 30,000 photos for the rest of the week or items. So, and then after that, I pretty much just go all night when it comes to that. And I check out YouTube videos and just see what everyone's doing out there and see if I can help anybody because there's a lot of people that are struggling out there.
Definitely. It's rocket science to some,
It is. And it's really not. And I don't think it's rocket science in the sense that they mean it to be that way. I think it's because there's so many people saying you should do this, you should do that, you should do that. And they just don't get it. They're like, which one,
Yeah. Well, information overload, right?
Exactly.
And everybody's, I think a lot of people are afraid to, do it until they know that they're exactly perfect. And there's no such thing as perfect. You'll constantly be improving yourself. So, if you're thinking about doing this, one of the best suggestions we got from one of our, guests was to get a laundry basket and go around your house and find 5 or 10 things that you want to sell that you don't need anymore. Put them on eBay and see if you sell them, see if you enjoy the experience. If you enjoy the experience, do it again. And then all of a sudden, everybody that we've talked to, most people, I should say, that we talk to start from selling around the house.
Yeah.
See, and that is the main answer that everybody has. But I'm a guy that came from, after I moved out of my parents, because my wife and I, we had my first son pretty young, and we were a hotel to hotel. So I know that sometimes you don't have a house with a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. So, well, that's true.
So then what do you do then? So then you look for recycling cans, because I know certain states you get more for cans. I'm from California, and I know you have to pay the California redemption value. So you're going to get a lot more per can or weight than you would here in Arizona, which is peanuts. It's just basically whatever the market says. You could donate plasma. You could do side jobs. I mean, dumpster dive. I mean, there's a bunch of ways. And the other thing is, like, even if you do have stuff around the house, doesn't mean people want to buy it, because you just may have bad taste. I mean, it's just,
that's true as well.
and then the other generic answer they say is, when you get into this and start with eBay and you really want to do it, make sure you get into what you like, because you're not like working at that point, which that is good advice. But again, what if it's just not worth anything?
Yeah.
Right. The best thing to do before you get on eBay is probably the ultimate place you want to be in a whole, unless you have, wholesale stuff and you're going to go other Amazon or whatever. But I would start in your house and try to sell the stuff locally first to get capital, and then research, and then put stuff on eBay. Because like I said, you may not have stuff that's worth selling on eBay, but in a local market, like me in Arizona, you sell barbecues and, certain things that pertain to Arizona, it'll fly off, as opposed to eBay. It won't sell very well. Mm-hmm. So then you get the money from that, and then you go and source stuff for eBay after you do research, of course. But the whole perception of buying and reselling, you do need to get a feel for it before you try to quit your job, or because everyone, this is the American dream, and everyone just wants to quit their job and do it. And they find out very, very quick that it's not easy.
No, it's a lot of effort. I mean, there's a lot of work goes in. That's what makes people successful on eBay, is that amount of effort that they put into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Ron and Ali will be right back after this short break.
So, you have an idea, a big idea, and you're ready to jump into the world of e-commerce. Awesome. But where to start? The answer is only a click away. At solutionsforecommerce.com, you'll find available services to help manage, audit, or even build your e-commerce site from the ground up. With over 10 years of experience in developing and managing channels on sites like Amazon, eBay, Shopify, and Etsy, Solutions for E-commerce can help you to grow your small or large business. Take a step back from the technical and do what you do best, and let Solutions for E-commerce handle the tedious stuff like creating, reviewing, adding, or removing listings, setting up or organizing store categories, even merchandising and customer support. Find out why their clients say that their business wouldn't be what it is today without the help from Solutions for E-commerce. Visit solutionsforecommerce.com and take your e-commerce business to the next level. That's solutions, the number 4, ecommerce.com. Use promo code eBay at checkout for an exclusive So You Want to Sell on eBay podcast discount.
Be sure to check out SoYouWannaSellOnEBay.com for the latest podcasts and all the information you need to get selling fast.
So where do you vision yourself in the future then? I mean, what's your plans here? Are you ultimately going to grow this, get back on the YouTube, do more stuff on there? I mean, where do you see yourself in the next few years?
Well, when it comes to eBay, the ultimate goal is the one store that I gave you, the smaller of the stores. That one's going to be dedicated just to that theme, nothing but that kind of stuff. The other store that I gave you, which is 19th Vintage, I'll go ahead and throw that out there because everyone knows it anyway. That ultimately is going to be like a high quality / auction store. And the reason why I say slash is because the auction, like everything that's just kind of like, it's not really great, but I'll see what it does in auction type thing. Yeah. And because I know so much stuff that it's like, it's hard to pass stuff up when I know it's going to make money, even though it may not be high quality. So if I just put it in an auction and then let it go and see what it does, or if it doesn't sell, then put it in the yard sale pile, then have a yard sale with it or something. And then ultimately we want to have a third store that's going to be nothing but high-end stuff like furniture and art and just strictly high-end stuff.
Art, wow. So you're talking like modern art, or you're like all types of art, from old art?
Well, I know nothing about art, but I know enough to buy art.
So I think what you mean is you know nothing about art yet.
Right.
And that's what a lot of eBay people say, right, Ali? I mean, they say I didn't know anything about fill in the blank, sport cards or anything, or postcards or anything about that until I came across a batch of, 1,000 of these or 100 of these, and I had to learn something. And now, I can pretty much appraise them pretty quickly. And, I love doing what I do and blah, blah, blah. That's just kind of how it seems.
That's
to
how it
go
works.
For some people.
That's how it works.
So we're running. I mean, you're absolutely awesome to bring onto a podcast because you talk so much, and that's exactly what we need. So we run out of time. But the last question I always ask is, and you've been doing this since the age of 8, so you've probably got something. What's the weirdest, or what's the funniest, or the ugliest, or the somethingest product that you've sold?
Well, the weirdest is probably some false teeth. I sold some false teeth.
Oh, yes.
Which, by the way, thank you. They fit really well.
Yeah. I gave you the 10% off coupon, right?
That's it. There's a couple of teeth missing, but it's worth it.
That's right. They fit pretty well. They fit pretty well. Thank you.
Yeah. So basically, I there's this couple that used to buy out estates, and they would just pull certain items from the estates, and then I bought the remainders from them, and they would drastically reduce the price. I mean, I'd get a truckload for like $150. And one time we're like, what the heck is this? And we open it up and there's teeth in there. And these things were not just any type of teeth. You ever see Something About Mary? And when who was that? Matt Dillon had those teeth in. Right. They look like that, but like older. And we just put them on eBay, and they were flying up to like 80 some bucks in bids. And then we found another pair, and we got like over 100 some bucks for them. So yeah, it's probably the strangest thing I've ever bought and sold.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, that's one to add to the list and stuff, isn't it? Jeez. Well, seriously, Robert, thanks for spending the time. I mean, you're just such a brilliant person. I don't think I've not talked this much in months. It's unbelievable. But it's almost like we need to get you back on and do it again because you've got so much information and knowledge of this stuff, So we would love to have you back on at some point. We will post all the notes from today's interview on our show notes page, which can be found at www.soyouwantasellonebay.com/show notes. Robert, before you leave us, what's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
Well, you can find me on YouTube and Instagram under Reselling with Rob. And I'm sure that name will grow to the other platforms. My wife and I are in the process of creating a reselling Facebook page for people to come get help. We're strong believers in trying to help people for free. I'm really against, I don't want to say against because I know people have to account for their time, but as long as the good information is out there and you want to pay for it, that's fine. But people typically, when they're trying to learn and just start, they don't have money to pay that. So it's up to us, the people that want to help people, to do that. And, YouTube and Instagram are great platforms to do that. Okay, brilliant.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. So, it is. I can just see you buying and selling and selling. And I mean, I can just see that's it. If you start at 8, you'll finish when you're end of it. So that's amazing. Yeah. Thanks so much for joining us. From everyone here at So You Want to Sell on eBay, I'm Ali Young.
And I'm Ron LeBeau.
That's all for this episode of So You Want to Sell on eBay. Be sure to check out our next episode or any past episodes by going online to soyouwantasellonebay.com. Also, be sure to follow us on your favorite social media sites, facebook.com/So You Want to Sell on eBay, and Twitter at Your eBay Podcast. Thanks for listening. And until next time, happy selling.
Have an idea for a topic or know someone who would like to be on the show? Let us know. Just go to www.soyouwantasellonebay.com/interview. We look forward to hearing from you. This podcast was produced in part by Pro Voice Works.